I thought I had a solid relationship with Ethan, until he humiliated me in front of his friends and left me with the bill at a coffee shop. But what he didn't know was that his entire life was built on lies, and the truth was about to come crashing down. When I uncovered his secrets and showed up to his family dinner, everything unraveled in ways I never expected. I still can't believe this actually happened. I keep replaying it in my head like maybe I imagined the whole thing. But nope. My drained bank account and the crumpled receipt in my purse prove otherwise. It all started last weekend. I had been with Ethan for 2 years. 2 whole years. Not just some casual fling. We had our routine, lazy Sundays, awkward family dinners. Even that one time we tried a salsa class and nearly sprained something. Things weren't perfect. Are they ever? But I thought we were solid. So when Ethan invited me to meet his work friends at a coffee shop, I was actually excited. He never really included me in his work life, always saying it wasn't professional. This felt like progress. I even went out and bought a new dress, something simple but cute, because I wanted to make a good impression. I got there 2 minutes late because parking was a nightmare, and the moment I walked in, I could feel something was off. Ethan barely looked at me, just a quick glance and a muttered, "You're late." I sat down, feeling a little thrown off, but I smiled and greeted his coworkers, James and Victor. That's when Ethan glanced at my outfit and said, "Oh, you wore that?" Not quietly either. His friends exchanged looks, and I immediately felt my face get hot. I tried to laugh it off, joking about missing a dress code memo, but Ethan just shrugged and said they already ordered drinks. The next hour was one of the most uncomfortable of my life. Ethan talked about work, his big projects, his important role in the company, which, let's be real, I never fully understood, but every time I tried to add something to the conversation, he either talked over me or completely ignored me. At one point, I shared a story about a customer at my store, and Ethan literally waved his hand and said, "She doesn't really get how things work in real business." I had been managing a retail store for 3 years, but sure, I knew nothing. That's when James asked how we met. I started telling the story, how Samantha, my best friend, introduced us, but Ethan cut me off with a laugh. Yeah, Sam felt bad for her. I was doing a favor, really. That's not even close to how it happened. Samantha actually warned me about Ethan before setting us up, but she said he had a good heart deep down. Spoiler alert, he didn't. I excused myself to the bathroom just to get a second to breathe. I was texting Samantha, freaking out when I got a notification. Ethan had just tagged himself on Instagram, "Boys Coffee Meetup," like I wasn't even there. I stood there staring at my phone, realizing this wasn't just a bad night. This was Ethan showing me exactly who he really was. I took a deep breath, fixed my makeup, and told myself to just get through this coffee date with dignity. But then, the bill came. The waiter placed the bill on the table. Ethan picked it up, glanced at it, then slid it over to me. I thought maybe he was showing me the total, but then he said something I'll never forget. "You know what? This isn't working. I'm not really attracted to you anymore. You should pay for this." In the middle of the coffee shop, in front of his friends. It took me a second to process what had just happened. I stared at him, waiting for a punchline. There wasn't one. "Are you serious right now?" I asked. He stood up, grabbed his coat, and said, "A girl like you should be grateful I even dated you this long. You're not exactly a prize." Then, just like that, he walked out. James and Victor followed. They didn't say a word. I sat there stunned as the waiter hovered nearby, clearly having heard everything. The bill was $85, not a huge amount, but I hadn't planned on paying for everyone. I had barely touched my drink. I swiped my credit card, trying to keep it together, and somehow made it to my car before the tears hit. I called Samantha, sobbing so hard she could barely understand me. That's when she said something that made me stop crying real quick. "Okay, don't freak out, but Ethan's been lying to you. About a lot more than you think." According to Samantha, Ethan wasn't who he claimed to be. He didn't work on major projects at his company. He was an assistant. He didn't lead presentations. He set up the PowerPoint slides. The business trips? Non-existent. His LinkedIn profile? Completely fake. For 2 years, this man had been lying about his entire career. The next morning, I was still in shock when my phone blew up with calls from Ethan's mom, his sister, and a number I didn't recognize. I called Samantha back first, and she was practically yelling. Sabrina, Ethan told his family you guys are still together, and that you're coming to his parents' dinner this weekend with big news. Big news? I had no idea what he was talking about. But suddenly, I had a plan. I wasn't just going to ghost him, I was going to let the truth come out, right in front of everyone. That Saturday, I walked into Ethan's family dinner like nothing had happened. He turned pale when he saw me. His mom was already talking about how proud she was of his job promotion. That's when Cody, his coworker, showed up. And the truth? It came crashing down. The moment Cody walked into that dinner, I knew it was over for Ethan. His mom, Linda, beamed and said, "Oh, Ethan always talks about you. It's so nice to finally meet one of his team members." Cody looked confused. He glanced at me, then at Ethan, then back at me. I gave him a small nod, silently telling him to just go with it. Linda kept talking, asking Cody how Ethan was handling his leadership role. That's when Cody made a decision. He smiled politely and said, "Oh, well, Ethan's an assistant, so I guess he helps out in a lot of ways." The entire table went silent. Ethan tried to brush it off, laughing nervously. "Cody's just being modest. My job title is complicated." Cody, he wasn't having it. "No, it's not," he said flatly. "You schedule meetings and take notes. You don't even have a desk. You work at the intern station." I swear you could have heard a pin drop. Linda's smile slowly faded. His dad, Carl, put down his fork. His sister, Emily, was already side-eyeing him like she knew something was off. That's when Linda asked the question that broke everything open. "Ethan, didn't you say you were leading that big client presentation?" Ethan froze. Cody raised an eyebrow. "Oh, you mean the one our boss presented? The one where Ethan clicked through the slides and almost messed up the order?" I swear I saw Carl grip his fork tighter. "Emily?" she muttered under her breath. "Knew it." Ethan panicked. He started fumbling over his words, talking in circles, saying Cody didn't know everything about his job, that things were more complex than they seemed. But the damage was done. Then just when Ethan thought things couldn't get worse, Linda turned to me. "Sabrina, honey, what was that coffee shop you mentioned earlier? The one you and Ethan went to?" I knew she wasn't asking about the coffee. This was it. I set down my fork, took a deep breath, and told them everything. How Ethan invited me to meet his work friends, how he belittled me the entire time, how he dumped me in public and made me pay the bill. I could see it in their faces. Carl looked disgusted. Linda was horrified. Emily? She just shook her head, like this was exactly what she expected. Ethan went into full meltdown mode. "That's not how it happened. She's twisting things. I didn't do anything wrong." Carl cut him off. "Sit down." Ethan shut up. Then Cody, bless his soul, pulled out his phone. "Actually," he said, "there are texts about what happened from James and Victor." He scrolled for a second, then read out loud. "Ethan really did that? What a jerk. I can't believe he dumped her like that and made her pay. Kinda messed up, dude." Cody looked at Ethan. "Still want to say this isn't how it happened?" Ethan's face turned red. He mumbled something under his breath, but Carl stood up, threw his napkin on the table, and walked away. Linda looked like she was holding back tears. That's when Ethan made his biggest mistake yet. He turned to me, pointed a finger, and snapped, "You ruined my life. A girl like you should be grateful I even gave you a chance." Emily actually laughed. Linda's mouth dropped open. Cody just shook his head. Then Carl's voice boomed from the other room. "Get out, Ethan." Ethan turned pale. "Wait, Dad. I said get out." I have never seen a grown man shrink so fast. Ethan grabbed his coat, his face twisting between anger and embarrassment, and stormed out the front door. I sat there in shock. Linda was still staring at the empty chair where Ethan had been sitting. Then slowly she looked at me. "Sabrina, I am so sorry," she whispered. Carl walked back in, rubbing his temples. I don't know where we went wrong with him. That's when Emily stood up, grabbed the cake knife, and cut a slice. Well, she said, no sense letting his birthday cake go to waste. And just like that, we ate cake. Without Ethan. You'd think that would be the end of it, but oh no, Ethan wasn't done yet. The next morning, I woke up to 13 missed calls from Linda. Emily and Cody. I called Linda back first. Sabrina, please be careful, she said immediately. Ethan? He lost it last night. Apparently, after storming out of dinner, Ethan went on a rampage. He showed up at his ex-girlfriend's apartment at 2 a.m., drunk and ranting about how I ruined, his life. She called Emily, who had to go pick him up. Then he spent the night sending unhinged messages to basically everyone we knew. To Cody, threats, to James and Victor, angry rants about betrayal. To me, a message with my home address, and the words, "You're gonna regret this." That was enough. I blocked his number, called my building manager, and told them what happened. Then, I called the police. I wasn't taking any chances. Ethan never showed up at my place, but 2 days later, he got fired. Turns out his boss saw the messages he sent Cody. Combined with all the lies, he was out of a job. He ended up moving to his uncle's house in another state. As for me, I'm doing great. I finally rearranged my apartment, got rid of everything that reminded me of him. And honestly, I'm happier than I've been in years. Cody and I still talk? No, we're not dating, but Vanessa keeps trying to make that happen. Emily and I actually became friends, which is the weirdest plot twist of all. As for Ethan, his social media went completely silent. Maybe he's finally learning to deal with reality. Or maybe he's still out there, making up a brand new set of lies. But that's not my problem anymore. And honestly, I couldn't be more grateful.